Alright, I am a white person living in the rural South on land that used to be the Lumbee tribe, and this is also in an old farmhouse where there used to be slaves and sharecrop. This is in the middle of tobacco country, North Carolina. From what I've gathered from the town historian and other sources, there's a bridge about a mile from us. It used to be there during the Civil War as well. Not that particular one, because our infrastructure's fucked. But there used to be a bridge there back in the Civil War times. And at one point that bridge got blown up to keep the Union from advancing. It only lasted like a day before the Union got across the river. And I'm only not too far from there. And so when I came onto this land a few years ago, I could feel that there was a heaviness. And as over the last 6 years that I've lived here, I have, the first couple of years of COVID, I wasn't doing so hot. I stayed in the house a lot. Didn't really make my way around the land. The last 2 to 3, ever since 2023 when I had an NDE, I was in the hospital for a week, puking my guts out. After that, I came back and I said, what I'm doing is not working. I need to find a better way. And part of healing my nervous system, because I was in functional freeze most of the time, part of healing my nervous system would be coming out to go for a quick walk up and down my driveway, because that would at least get me into the fight response. And so just getting off of the couch where I slept for 4 months because of my experience in that hospital, it was so fucking terrible, because they saw that I had ADHD meds and anxiety meds in my system, and when the urinalysis came back, they said, oh, she's here on uppers and downers cleaning herself out. And puking my guts out. I brought my medications with me so I could show them. But as a result of that hospital stay, I slept on the couch next to my front door for 4 months. Occasionally getting up to come walk around the land. And I do this. I make videos. I talk to my loved ones on Snapchat, on Marco Polo. And so I would record content while I was sitting out on the lawn watching the sunset every day, or on the walks I would take around my old, tobacco barns. So I was talking to my phone. As it turns out, this interdependence thing is no joke. About a year and a half ago, I started saying, okay, when I see something new pop up around the land, what is it? Is it edible? Is it medicinal? Is it toxic? If it's edible, how do you eat it? And so I started learning about the plants that were naturally growing around me. Then it spread to, well, why is there poison ivy growing up those trees? Poison ivy is invasive. There's got to be a reason for it. So I started learning more about indigenous companion planting and ways that plants grow next to each other to return nitrogen to the soil, how plants are interdependent, how the poison ivy can keep the critters from crawling up the trunk. But I also have a shitload of absolutely gorgeous wisteria. It's the invasive kind. And starting to learn about plants, I thought, there's a reason why this is growing here. It has to do with where I am. Wisteria is all about resilience and finding strength after a really shitty time. It can be good for healing your nervous system. And a couple years back, sometimes I would drive down to see my dad in South Carolina, and the towns that I passed through that had the most wisteria, gorgeous, it seemed like they had undertones. No, let me say that. They had racist undertones in every one of those cities that I passed through. And the wisteria was gorgeous. And I thought, is wisteria here to help us heal? Racial violence, the blood that was shed. Here's another one of the barns. And I went into our local library a while ago and I asked if they had any books on mutual aid, and they were like, "What's that?" And the librarian and I became friends, and it turns out she does herbalism. And the first time I ever met her, I was like, I have this theory that wisteria pops up in places where there's a lot of racial violence. And we're really good friends now, a year later. So letting your freak flag fly means that you do find the people that like that flavor. So I have been experimenting with her tinctures and teas and whatnot. They have helped me be able to access dreams again and find some sleep, which, what a miracle. Ambien can't even touch me. Well, it couldn't until a few months ago. But part of me working on healing my body and my nervous system and burnout has been spending time out here. And for a really long time, most of my life, a lot of things got neglected. And I carried that neglect into myself and my adulthood. And didn't know how to stand up for myself or even to identify what I needed. So for the last year and a half, every time I have seen a new pattern disruption, a new flower buds, I see something growing that I've never noticed before, and I take lots of pictures. I have started learning more about the human interaction and the part that we might play in this. So, like I have been neglecting myself, my health, a lot of things, I'm realizing that today, coming out here to clear some brush, these trees growing next to each other, the wisteria was here to help. But we as humans, we're supposed to be part of that equation. We're supposed to cut it back when it gets to the point where it's nourished the soil. We're part of the equation. And so there are things growing here that I have not seen growing the entire 6 years I've lived here. In the last year and a half, everything has related back to symbolism around death and rebirth and transformation. And in the last 3 to 4 months, almost all the plants are about resilience, adaptability, being able to pivot in a crisis. The plants, the creatures. So, yeah, it feels like I'm doing something right.